The couple still in the hallway chatting.
For anybody online, we'll begin again in just a second. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Brazos River Basin Steering Committee meeting. Our next talk, I'm going to move the Lampasas River watershed under our next talks, and then just combine that with the rest of the watersheds when I go over them in a minute. So up next, we're going to have Matt Stelbauer with Texas Water Resources Institute, talking about some water quality projects in the basin. You're welcome.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Jenna, for having us today. I just wanted to introduce the Texas Water Resource Institute, if you don't already know us, and introduce myself. Again, my name is Matt Stelbauer, and I'm a research specialist with Texas Water Resource Institute. And so Texas Water Resource Institute is part of Texas A&M AgriLife, and we are the state's official water resource institute. There's about 54 around the country, and we're it for Texas. And so to kind of kick off things, just remind everybody that there are many barriers to water management and monitoring in Texas. First, Texas is big, and about 95% of land is privately owned. And so, it leads to a lot of water quality impairments. There are diverse use scenarios and climate management strategies rely on data and broad participation. And so at the Texas Water Resource Institute, we do a couple of things. We provide science-based community-supported solutions for water quality issues across the state. We monitor water quality, and I'll talk about some of the watersheds that we monitor here in the Brazos River Basin here in a little bit. But then we also work with stakeholders to provide water quality education and outreach around pollution in the waterways, particularly non-source point pollution, and ways to reduce bacteria in those waterways. And we do this in a couple of different ways at the Institute. One is working with TCEQ on their TMDL and I-Plan initiatives, and then watershed protection planning and creating watershed protection plans and working with communities to develop those plans. And so, a show of hands before I continue, does everybody know what a TMDL and an I-Plan is, and a watershed protection plan? Okay, I'm getting a lot of nods, and so I'll just continue. And so next, I'll just run through a list of the watershed protection plans that we implement, and some of the monitoring efforts that are taking place in our watershed. And so, the first one I'll talk about is Big Elm Creek. Includes portions of McLennan, Bell, and Falls in Milam County. The watershed protection plan was completed in 2021, and we have implementation activities continuing through 2028. Currently, we're working with stakeholders to host educational workshops and outreach activities. And so the impairment in this watershed is elevated bacteria not supporting contact recreation. One of our newest watershed protection plans is the Thompsons Creek Watershed Protection Plan, and it is located in the Bryan College Station area. Also does not support non-contact recreation. It also has issues with dissolved oxygen, and and so the development of this plan is to be completed later this year, and we will have implementation activities to follow. We also have Davidson Creek, through monitoring efforts, bacteria in water, 2002, and then it was also put on the 303D list in 2010 for dissolved oxygen. In 2010, we conducted recreational use sustainability analysis and began the WPP development in April of 2024 and was recently approved in May of 2026. Currently, there's 6 stakeholder meetings held, and it is currently with the WPP is currently with EPA for review. We also do continued monitoring on Davidson Creek. Intensive monitoring events will be conducted and gather up to 60 samples in one day across the watershed. And then along with our water monitoring, we're also, as I said, working on watershed protection planning. And so we've built partnerships, we've characterized the watershed, identified goals and solutions, designed the implementation plan. Oops, sorry. And so now we're following through with implementation and measure progress, and we'll continue to measure progress and adjust the plan as necessary. And so in Pond Creek, we're doing a characterization and getting primed for a future WPP development. And so, both Pond Creek and Deer Creek are impaired for bacteria and have concerns for high levels of nitrates in the water. And so when I say impaired for bacteria, I'm primarily talking about E. coli. We've developed a watershed characterization report, and again, the WPP project is just now beginning. And then also you continue to monitor on Deer Pond and Pond Creek to support watershed characterization. We also have Hog Creek Solar Farm. And this is more of a research project. And so we're sampling base flows, storm flows, and stream bed sediment upstream and downstream of solar farm facilities. And so we're looking at things like total suspended solids, heavy metals, and then also standard monitoring for bacteria. Data collection is currently ongoing. We also monitor on the Little Brazos. We collect data at 5 sites, and currently working on final project report. Past watershed efforts in the Little Brazos include monitoring for impaired bacteria since 2002, and then since 2021, we've been monitoring that site. And then we'll continue with monitoring and characterization project in the fall of 2026. Mill Creek is also being monitored. We do a monthly sampling of 5 sites to fill data gaps and improve analysis, and also working on a final report to summarize that data collection along with existing water data quality. Mill Creek has been on the 303D list since 2010 due to elevated levels of bacteria, E. coli, and then has been monitored since 2014. This monitoring has been conducted by TWRI since 2020. This Mill Creek has a WPP that was accepted by EPA in 2016, and so this year will mark the 10-year anniversary of that WPP. Brushy Creek Watershed Protection Plan is in development. It's been listed impaired for bacteria since 2024, and also listed for concerns of phosphate. TWRI developed a characterization report in 2025 and added USGS stations along with continued monitoring, and again developed the WPP in between 2026 and 2027. And so we're currently having our focused stakeholder group meetings to inform that plan. And actually the next meeting is tonight in Round Rock. We also monitor Tanakawa Creek. This project continues through 2027. And we collect monthly data at 2 sites within that creek. Tanakawa Creek has been on the Texas Integrated Report since 2002, impaired for recreational contact for high levels of bacteria. There's also concerns for nitrates, phosphorus, and chlorophyll. We do water quality monitoring at Swickham stations. We've been doing that since 2014. For Middle Yawa Creek, we do monthly monitoring. We do routine monitoring plus look at PFAS, and upcoming events include a Texas Well Owners Network workshop and planning a creek cleanup event for fall of 2026. And then to kind of close it out, we have a number of educational workshops that we offer to stakeholders and implementers within the watershed, including Texas Well Owners Network, Lone Star Healthy Streams, our Healthy Lawns and Healthy Waters program, as well as a Texas Watershed Stewards. All of these programs are focused on reducing non-point source pollution within the watersheds, and focus on things like impaired septic systems or ag management practices, or just general water quality education. I'd ask that you please stay connected. We have a number of social media sites, and you can just subscribe to our newsletter at this using this QR code. And so I'll take you have any questions at this time? Sure.
Is there any plans to do anything about the eyesore on Davidson Creek off of up there in Chrisman? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, could you explain that?
In Chrisman, off of County Road, at the intersection of County Road 308 and 313, that
Sure.
ugly bridge has the black part that barely lets a little trickle through Davidson Creek.
I'm not aware of that, but I could, if
Oh,
you
it's hideous.
if you provide your contact information, I could ask.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
across the creek. And
Yeah.
south of
they've built their own bridge, they've painted it, then they put all this black, thick black stuff on it to where it looks, they haven't impeded the flow.
Sure.
It looks like they have, so where their tank stays full. Oh, it's hideous, it's ugly.
I can take that back to the office and we can ask about it.
The
Sure.
water master's seen it.
So what are the activities y'all have actually coordinated in the field that have made the biggest movement of the needle on some of these parameters?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and I appreciate that question. And so we obviously developed WPPs. Again, those are voluntary efforts, a voluntary plan created, with stakeholder involvement, to reduce non-point source pollution. And so to answer your question, it's kind of context specific and it depends. And so, in some cases it may be working to on septic tank, mitigation, or it may be working with landowners to do, ag practices and getting them resources, money to do, grazing management, cattle management, different things to kind of keep those sources of pollution out of the waterways. And so it just depends on the watershed, I would say. Sure. It was we were asked to do that. Yeah. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Jenna. But again, thank you for your time. And again, if you have other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Sure.
Appreciate it. All right. Next, we'll have a talk from Corey Skanes on some biological assessment data that they got recently relatively recently in Salado Creek. Here you go.
Thank you, Jenna. In 2025, the Brazos River Authority Environmental Services conducted an ALM, aquatic life monitoring, on Salado Creek. This is west of I-35, and I'll show you a map of that in a little bit. Clicking.
You just have to cursor on that and click it and then go.
Gosh, you'd think I'd figure this out. For those that aren't familiar, aquatic life monitoring, the purpose is to determine if current aquatic life use designation is being attained. So that aquatic life use designation is kind of a measure of biotic integrity, how aquatic life is doing in that stream based on the conditions present. These are conducted utilizing TCEQ's surface water quality monitoring procedures. There's a volume 1 and a volume 2, and each contain different parameters, methodology, techniques, that sort of thing. SWCM volume 2 contains the biological and habitat methodology that we use for these. At a minimum, 2 biological assessments are performed for an ALM during a 1-year period. So one of those events will be performed in just the general index period, and the other event will be performed during the critical period. And if you can see on the, I don't have a pointer, on this little figure here, the index period begins March 15th and ends October 15th. That's okay. I saw it down there. And the critical period begins July 1st and it runs through September 30th. That critical period is important just because, especially in Texas, those are the hottest months, the times when we might see imperilment of some of those biological organisms. The components assessed for an ALM are a 24-hour dissolved oxygen monitoring, also called diel monitoring. This includes temperature, pH, specific conductance, and salinity on top of the dissolved oxygen. Water chemistry components, that would be nutrients, anions, total suspended solids, dissolved solids, chlorophyll A. These are things that we pull water bottles and we bring them back to the laboratory and have them processed. We also take discharge. If discharge isn't available through a USGS gauging station, we will physically take the flow of that water body. Physical habitat and fish cover are assessed using a habitat quality index, or HQI. Fish assemblage is assessed using a regionalized IBI. This is based on each ecoregion. And for Salado Creek, it is in ecoregion 32, which is the Edwards Plateau. And then for benthic macroinvertebrates, they have their own IBI. That one is not regionalized. I don't know if it ever will be. No. Just for reference, the Habitat Quality Index has aquatic life use scores, and then that assigns an aquatic life use rating. The scores that we're looking for are high and exceptional, and a lot of information, a lot of numbers go into a metric that calculates that ALU score. And so we take a whole bunch of data when we're out in the field, compile it into a spreadsheet, and it spits out our number. People far smarter than me develop these things, and so I'm happy to be able to use it. So the ratings go from limited to intermediate to high to exceptional. Exceptional being the highest quality for those organisms. And the fish IBI is the same way. Like I said, we assessed Salado Creek in June and August of 2025. That site, 20306, is west of I-35. And I think my map is next, so I'll show you that in a minute. But we accessed this through permission from Robertson Ranch there at the museum and through the cattle ranch that they have there. And we did follow the SWCM protocol. And that is Calvin processing bugs out in the field. Calvin's sitting right there. So this is a map of not only our biological site, which one's the laser? Is it at the very top? Okay, so this is our biological monitoring site that we accessed through the ranch here. And this site here, 12051, is our routine monitoring site. We pull routine water quality data from this site quarterly. The yellow there is the critical habitat for the Salado salamander. So as you can see, we operated outside of that critical habitat. So we were not in the vicinity of the Salado salamander. This is a more up close view of our site that we did the biological monitoring on. T1 through T6 are our transects that we assessed habitat for. And from T1 to T6 is where we assessed fish and bugs. This site is an ankle breaker. There is a ton of varied limestone substrate. And if you're not careful, you're going to twist an ankle, but it was fun. Some of our results from June 2025 for our water quality, that diel 24-hour dissolved oxygen, you can see that we took 25 measurements. That's a measurement every hour. And the values you can see above, the mean for dissolved oxygen and temperature are assessed. And you can see the water quality standard there. You can see that we exceed the water quality standard for dissolved oxygen, and we come in below the water quality standard for temperature. Those are both very good things. And then for the minimum and maximum pH, we fall within that water quality standard of 6.5 to 9. And based on that, we can conclude that the ALU for minimum DO is exceptional. So we are above that 5.0 for our minimum dissolved oxygen value, and we are above the mean. And so both of those received an exceptional ALU score. And it's relatively the same story for our August event. However, with higher air temperatures, higher water temperatures, dissolved oxygen can decline during those periods. So we did achieve an ALU of high based on minimum DO. And you can see that we did have higher water temperatures for our maximum, which could drive some of those differences in ALU scores. For flow, you can see that this is a 2-year period on Salado Creek from 2023 to 2025. Salado Creek is pretty flashy. It is mostly based off of runoff. There is some input from the aquifer at the springs. But whenever a rainfall event comes, a lot of water hits the river and then it dissipates pretty quickly and moves downstream. So you can see these high periods of flow, and you can see the stream actually recover to more of a base flow relatively quickly. This is the period during which we sampled. I think this stream gauge is a little bit downstream from where we sampled, and I think flow is different above where we sampled than at the bridge. Those are actually, you heard people talk about the AUs, Jenna was talking about AUs. Upstream of I-35 is a different AU than downstream. So I don't know I don't actually know what qualified that to be two different AUs. Maybe someone from a long time ago probably knows. So this is the period of 2025 from the index period of May 15th to October 15th. And the vertical red bars are our sampling events. And you can see where flow was during those periods. And you can see that Salado Creek did experience some flashy moments where they got a whole bunch of rain, but it resided very quickly. During June, our discharge was 8.42 cubic feet per second, and in August, it was 1.43 cubic feet per second. For this stretch, that is a pretty big difference, even though in the grand scheme, that doesn't really seem like a big difference. But here I have side-by-side pictures from June and August of our Transect 2 and our Transect 5. At Transect 2, that's looking upstream, and you can actually see some of these rocks. In this instance, there's no rocks exposed. And here, when the stream flow was down in August, it exposed a lot of rocks and other kind of habitat. Same for Transect 5. This is actually looking downstream. You can see water is covering this entire region. And here in August, it has receded down below and all of that limestone was exposed. So very different in the span of a month and a half. Our habitat results, both June and August, received an ALU rating of high. And the major contributing factors to those are in-stream cover and fish habitat, like riffles, pools, things like that. So what that indicates is that there's good varied habitat for organisms, and that drives up the ALU score. There's also a wide riparian buffer, so there's good area next to the stream that allows for filtering of contaminants and that kind of thing, pollution. And so it allows the stream to stay clearer. And then I think in August, low flow, that 1.43 CFS kind of drove down the ALU rating. It didn't drive the ALU rating down. It drove the ALU score down, keeping that site from achieving an exceptional ALU rating. Our fish results, again, ALU ratings of high. The contributing factors for that were high species richness. For the state of Texas, as you move from west to east, you see an increase in the number of species. And because Salado Creek is on the Edwards Plateau, you're not going to get as many species as you would in a place like the Navasota River. So our total species for June, I believe, was 12, and for August was 13. We'll see that in a minute. But for Salado Creek, that is high species richness. We had a diverse sunfish community. We caught 4 different species of sunfish. We also had low percentages of tolerant fish, and I put up those tolerant fish here. Those are things like bluegill, western mosquito fish, green sunfish, channel catfish. They handle low dissolved oxygen, high temperatures, flash flooding, all of that kind of stuff. They tend to handle that better than other species that are less tolerant, like darters, bass, things like that. And we also observed no non-native or invasive species in either event. Here's a list of fish species. I'm a fish guy, so I'm going to show you this, whether you want to see it or not. You can see this is a pretty varied list of fish. We have several sunfish species. We caught darters in each event. Those guys like the bottom. They like riffles and clean water. We also caught Mexican tetra, which is surprisingly enough, it is closely related to piranha from South America. They don't have the teeth though, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So here are a couple pictures. Like I said, I'm a fish guy. So you can see we have a flathead catfish in the top right corner. We have a very small largemouth bass in the middle. Is that a central stone roller? Yeah, a central stone roller in the upper left-hand corner. Those guys, they really like riffles and very clean water. A really pretty long-eared sunfish, and there's that little piranha guy in the bottom right-hand corner. So really we can conclude about this site. It achieved high or exceptional ALU ratings in every metric across both surveys. And both habitat and fish ALUs were very close to achieving exceptional ratings, but missed by maybe like a point score or 2. So really, Salado Creek is achieving those ALUs that we want to see. I have a quick anecdote before I take questions. This is Jeremy Nicolai. He is retiring next week. And so I decided to add a couple photos of him. One is him holding a red-eared sunfish, which they're also called shell crackers if for the fishermen. And then he found this really sweet scoop out in a rock, and it was hard to kind of get him out of that seat. I didn't want to say that, you know, but this bottom right-hand picture is a cottonmouth. If for those of you that are familiar, this thing in June, where we put our dissolved oxygen meter, was guarding the cable when we went to retrieve it. And so I actually had to use Stadia rod to politely ask it to move, and it really did not want to move. So it took a while, but I finally did get it to go up into the bushes so that I could retrieve our dissolved oxygen meter and get our data. But it was, I don't know if you think it looks small, but it wasn't very small. So that's the last thing I really want to see out in the field. But with that, I'll take questions. Anytime. Anytime. We're always happy to have people come out with us and experience what we do and what we like to do. Yes, sir.
Hey, Brian Zopchik with Save Texas Streams. I'm here with some other folks from Salado. We're very interested in Salado Creek, but we'll explain that in a moment. Yes, cottonmouths are very large. But one specific question on your study, you said that you tested for nutrients. Do you remember off the top of your head what your phosphorus readings were?
I do not. They were below actionable levels. I'm not going to ask Nicole to remember that either, because that was a year ago. But I mean, I don't think we had anything that was exceeding the standards.
And the standard is?
I don't know that off the
Okay.
top of my head.
And so then could we get the profile of your full test results?
What's your question?
Could we get all of the test results basically?
Yeah.
I will say it will eventually, we also submit this data to TCEQ, and they just did this past summer. So we have to package it and we turn it into our TCEQ project managers, and they will upload it into the SWCMIS, into the database there, all packaged with pictures and all that data.
How will it be uploaded into SWCMIS? This isn't for a CRP station.
Yes, this was a CRP, aquatic life monitoring station, which, you know, they just go and do the biological assessments. They had two events in one season, and we just do that ever so often in different stations. So this is a different station than what our normal routine monitoring.
Okay. Do you have any rough idea, like time frame, how long we would have to wait to see the data then?
Are we done with bugs? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say a couple of months.
Couple of months. Okay. Thanks.
Mhm. Yeah. We have a question online.
Yeah, this is Chris Johnson. Corey, I had a question. Did y'all see any Guadalupe bass in any of your monitoring? I know you have this species list and there were others in addition to that, but did you find any up there? I know y'all were just above I-35 and we fished that pretty frequently, but did y'all find any in any of your monitoring?
We did not. We're always looking really close for Guadalupe bass, and in this instance, in these two instances, we really only found those largemouth bass, and we didn't collect very many bass in that stretch.
Okay, thank you so much. I was just curious.
Yeah, you bet. Yes, ma'am.
When did you all start testing on the west side in 2025. Was that the first testing since 2007? That's what TCEQ told us. They haven't tested on the west side since 2007.
Okay. We don't do any routine monitoring on the west side of I-35. And so we've only done this biological monitoring,
Okay.
these two events in 2025.
And did you find any salamander?
We didn't go digging, just because, you know, that's critical habitat. And so we did our best to watch out for them, make sure we didn't step on them or get into any like spring outfalls, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
When
Because we
when you have
we didn't want to
endangered species and critical habitats, there's real specific rules about what you can and can't do
Yes.
Mhm.
within their critical habitat without having a permit. And we do not have the permit because we do not have salamander experts on staff who could
Okay,
qualify
thank
for
you.
the permit.
Thank you.
Political. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Corey. Yeah, we were just lucky that we happened to go out there this past summer and do that assessment. And then we heard that y'all were interested in Salado Creek, so we kind of wanted to give y'all a preview of the data that we collected this summer. So, okay, with that, we will go back to looking at our watersheds and getting any comments on that stuff. As soon as I can get switched back to it. Okay, we left off with the Lampasas River watershed coming up next, which is right here. And there were changes in the integrated report for the draft 2026. Let's see, 17 water quality monitoring stations, a lot done by tier, and a lot by BRA. In this watershed, there are 3 bacteria impairments, and 2 of those are brand new for 2026 here at Pleasant Branch and an unnamed tributary of Tremere Creek. And I don't have different layers where I can show you the overhead view, but you can see it's right in the middle of a lot of streets, so neighborhoods probably. So like I said, that's new for the 2026 report. A couple of nutrient chlorophyll A concerns and 3 DO concerns. And in this watershed, we've got the Lampasas River Watershed Protection Plan that's still active. You have any updates, anything you want to share, Lisa Persing? Wow.
The upper, assessment unit kind of comes on and off every so often. Like, but we do still have our district technician that works alongside the NRCS through the Soil and Water Conservation District there in Lampasas. But landowners and ag producers, conservation plans and conservation management practices around. And then the other thing that we have been actively doing about the last 5 years is repairing and replacing failing septic. The number source of that. Today we have about to wrap up our 2nd phase and have rolled into our 3rd phase. The program is funded with TCU 319 funds. We have replaced through phase 1 and 2, 42 failing systems watershed. We have funding for another 27 over the next 3 years. All told, through all 3 phases, that's about $325,000 in part for. I do have flyer or new and improved flyer about the program if anybody's interested in it. But that's rolling, similar to what we've always done. Let's see, I mentioned the waterway cleanup. We are doing Clear Creek, South of Copper's Cove, and Silver Creek, there through Land Passes. Join us. Up there. As always, we try to keep our project website fairly current. Patient activity, but it is just Land Passes for my contact.
And I will say, I tried to include on these little write-ups, hyperlinks, like this will take you to the Land Passes River Watershed Protection Plan site, or any of the projects that I'm aware of that are in the watershed that you're clicked on. You can click on that, and so there's some reports connected as well. Right.
Watershed protection plan, exception is only addressed prior to conflict.
Yeah.
About Maxwell Ding Dong.
And up, okay.
About the southernmost part of it.
Any questions, other comments about anything in the Land Passes River watershed?
Jenna, I have a question.
Yes.
So with the new listing of the unnamed tributary for Tremere Creek for both bacteria and DO,
Mhm.
I know at one point the BRA was looking at discontinuing testing on Tremere Creek proper. Will that be reinstated? Is that in the plan?
I don't think, we don't have any plans to.
We would ask
Might
that
be
we
something that would
start.
be discussed at coordinated monitoring if TCEQ.
Well, and you also have the,
Yeah.
okay. And I wasn't sure, since now we have both of them, the one that's in Colleen and then the one that's in Harker Heights coming together at that testing point. So with both of them now being listed, again, like you indicated, they're very intermittent, but still something to think about.
Yeah, we can discuss that at coordinated monitoring for sure. Thanks for bringing that up. Anything else in the Land Passes? Yes.
Just a question for clarification for me. Is Salado Creek in the Lampasas River watershed, or is that Little River? And help me understand.
It's Land Passes. I kept saying Little River to you, didn't I? Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's right here. We are in the Land Passes.
Well, the Brazos Basin is the biggest piece. It's got Little River. Salado flows into Land Passes, so Land Passes and then Salado is micro water.
Okay.
Yeah, we get that. We just want to know. Yeah, we
Yeah.
get that. We just want to know at what point in this meeting should we talk about Salado
Yeah,
Creek?
you can right now. We're in the Land
it a good
Passes.
time?
Salado's in the Land Passes.
Okay.
Whatever.
Okay. My name is, just a reminder, my name is Jody Askins, and I'm here on behalf of a group called Save Salado Creek. Salado Creek is often, as you well know, described as a pristine stream over the Edwards Aquifer Recharge Zone. To help protect Salado Creek, we have established an unincorporated nonprofit association we currently have over 120 local members, and we're growing very rapidly. We have partnered with Save Texas Streams, the Greater Edwards Aquifer Alliance, and Save Our Springs Alliance. Just want to read our mission to you because it's why we're here. The mission of Save Salado Creek is to safeguard the health of Salado Creek and its environment through science-based practices, sustained advocacy for long-term watershed protection, and community engagement. The science-based practices is part of our mission statement. That's what brings us here today. When reviewing the data that is currently being collected, it is my understanding that currently, and I've heard it today, there's really only one testing site for Salado Creek, and that's on the east side. That's on the west side of I-35, close to Pace Park. Keeping that in mind, I wanted to share just a little bit about our current environment. We are currently experiencing a high volume of wastewater permits. There are 12 wastewater facilities planned. 5 have already been approved, currently being processed by TCEQ that will impact Salado Creek. If all 12 facilities move forward, the creek will receive up to 8 million gallons of treated wastewater per day. This is one of the largest concentrations of new permit applications in Texas. With the projected growth in our area, we know this is just going to continue. We know we need the science and the data for protection. Which brings me to our request. We are asking for more testing sites to be added to Salado Creek as soon as possible on the west side of I-35. We are also asking that the creek be tested again for phosphorus levels. There are no phosphorus results, as I understand, from the one station that's been reported to TCEQ since 2012. We ask that the phosphorus levels be measured and reported. We need some baseline information. We have brought several people with us today via letters that I would like to we have 5 letters from the village of Salado, from our alderman and our mayor. We also have a letter from Representative Brad Buckley, and if you'll bear with me, I'd just like to read a little bit of that. And he starts with something I think that's a good place to start. Brazos River Authority Board and staff, please accept my deepest appreciation for wise and valuable work you do every day in monitoring, expanding, and protecting water in our region. It's because of your expertise and skill that our water resources are able to serve the constituents of House District 54. Within my district lies Salado Creek, an important historical waterway with significant cultural quality of life and economic impact to our community and our state. With the uptick in development locally, concentrated heavily on the west side of Interstate Highway 35, a need for additional monitoring sites has been identified by local citizens and stakeholders. I am aware that historically there have been, and he said, 2 monitoring sites located in this area, but they're no longer being used. I would ask that BRA allocate their manpower and financial resources to investigate a good location for monitoring safety levels on Salado Creek west of I-35 for the health, safety, and cultural integrity of an incredibly important, beloved landmark. Thank you again for your dedication to water resources in Texas. If I can provide any additional context or answer any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. For Texas, Representative Brad Buckley. And I will leave the letters with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The ortho, or was there total? I was gonna, are you still, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Howdy. So yeah, I just want to go ahead and provide some more context. First of all, an excellent place to do the testing on the west side of on the Salado Creek west of 35 would actually be on Dr. Buckley's property, because it backs right up to Salado Creek at the junction of Buttermilk and Salado Creeks. I just want to go ahead and, again, my name is Brian Zobczyk. I'm the advocacy director at Save Texas Streams. We're founded in 1979 as Save Barton Creek Association. We've done a lot of work down there, a lot of work on water quality testing, on wastewater permits. Unfortunately, our work is kind of like expanded out through Central Texas as the growth from Austin has expanded out too. And so this is actually the first time that we're dealing with an issue in the Brazos River watershed, because the growth from Williamson County is crossing over into Bell County. So as already been said, 12 new wastewater plants are planned for this stretch of Salado Creek. I should add, all of them are west of 35. And if all of TCQ approves all of the permits, a total of 8 million gallons per day of treated wastewater could be discharged into the creek. We have been kind of like in extended discussions with TCQ and the applicants over the pollutant limits in these permits. And one of the key ones has been phosphorus. Because as you probably are aware, the South San Gabriel River, which you haven't gotten to in your watershed review yet, the South San Gabriel River has been coated with excess algae for more than a decade and for up to 3.5 miles downstream from the City of Liberty Hills wastewater treatment plant. And because of that, TCEQ's commissioners voted unanimously in 2024 to reissue Liberty Hills permit with a historically low phosphorus limit of 20 micrograms per liter. That was based in large part on testimony and research done by Dr. Ryan King from Baylor's University. He's with the Center for Reservoir and Aquatic Systems Research, which has done a lot of work, including they did a study on Salado Creek in 2006 to 2008. And in that study, they found, even though that was a while back, they found that the phosphorus level in the creek west of 35, and Salado Creek west of 35, was between 10 to 15 micrograms. The research on South San Gabriel found that the phosphorus level was no more than 10 micrograms. The research has also found that 15 micrograms is around the tipping point for the growth of excess algae on pristine streams like these, and that at 20 micrograms, that's when you definitely start to see excess algae grow. The SOA judges, State Office of Administrative Hearings, who conducted 2 contested case hearings on the South San Gabriel, recommended actually a lower limit that Dr. King was recommending of 15 micrograms for the phosphorus limit. TCQ set the limit at 20 only because that is their AWRL limit, the ambient water recording limit.
Or, yeah, ambient water
Recording limit.
limit.
And they didn't want to require Liberty Hill to meet a phosphorus level that can be detected by TCEQ's certified water quality testing labs. This is all relevant because this kind of gets to the lack of data and the lack of phosphorus measurements, in particular on Salado Creek west of I-35. And I mentioned this is to basically to buttress the claim from Save Salado Creek that BRA establish at least 1 and preferably 2 official SWCMS CRP monitoring stations on the creek. I have a map that shows the location, like of all of these proposed facilities, but they start in Florence, which is kind of at the tip of Salado Creek over there. There will be a total of now 3 wastewater discharge facilities there. Yeah, right at the tip of, the headwater. Yeah, right there. And then if you follow it down to just sort of like that very first bin, DPS is building their training academy there, and they will have another discharge facility there. Then right at the county line between Williamson and Bell, there are currently 2 permits that would discharge up to 1.7 million gallons per day. And then if you go up to the intersection with Buttermilk Creek, right there, that dry channel that goes down to the right and down, there are 2 plants there that would also discharge up to 1.7 million gallons. This is also where some Salado salamander habitats are located. I mentioned all of the specific locations. Also on Mustang Creek, there will be another one a little bit up Mustang Creek from Salado Creek that will be discharging 1 million gallons. So basically kind of giving you an idea of kind of where the testing sites need to go. And also I bring this up because as has already been mentioned, I looked up the data for the one testing site that BRA has on Salado Creek, the red dot there. And I got the data, pulled the data from both from the CRP tool and from the SWCMS tool on TCQ's website. And I got the same results from both. The total phosphorus was measured from 1983 to 2012, and then it stopped. I didn't check to see if orthophosphate was still being tested or any others, but the total phosphorus one is the one that's kind of key.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We do.
Okay, that won't be sufficient in terms of like the wastewater permits
not a-
because the wastewater permits are the limit is based on total phosphorus. Anyway, and also too, because of the low level of phosphorus that has already been recorded in the stream in that 2006, 2008 study by Dr. King and his Baylor lab, where they measured it at like between 10 to 15, and because of the similar readings on the South San Gabriel, it would be really great to use a lab like Baylor's that can measure phosphorus down to those low levels. So I'm sorry for running on,
And
but
we added them, added some stations to our schedule. Our newly lowered AWRL, right, is 0.02. And that's as.
have they issued that yet? We actually met with TCQ's water quality staff, and they said they were going to lower the AWRL from 60 to 20
Yes.
and
And
the
they did.
LOQ from 20 to 10. So they've issued that.
Yes, it's now in our quality assurance project plan that we have to go down to 0.02 or 20 that you were saying. But that would be the lowest we would go.
Okay, so you don't
That's the
have a lab
lowest
that
we
could
can
go
get
down to the new
reliable.
LOQ of 10.
Yeah, well, we can't get reliable data that low.
Okay. Do you have your own in-house lab?
Yes, we have our own in-house lab.
Okay, great. But you can do,
Lot
you
of-
can do down to 20 confidently?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what we're reporting now for stations where we do the total phosphorus. And yeah, and we are in communications with other river authorities, and they all have a hard time getting lower than that. On a regular basis, that's quality enough that you can report to the state and they can report to EPA.
That we can be accredited for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for what's worth, I've talked to Jeff Back at the Baylor lab, and he said that they actually have applied for certification with TCQ and that they can go below 20.
Yep.
Also to GBRA, I was told by some of our coalition partners that GBRA presented at the, I'm sorry, not GBRA presented at the GBRA Clean Rivers Program meeting last week that they were refining their in-house water quality testing lab to get results below 22.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
definitely trying.
But, okay.
They're definitely trying to.
Yeah. So I guess we're just to kind of, like we can obviously continue this conversation later, but what is the process that
But
we
yeah,
would work through?
Okay, so in a nutshell, y'all would like us to add a couple of routine stations west of 35, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and we are having a coordinated monitoring meeting next week where we kind of discuss this for the next fiscal year, which would begin September 1st if we added stations. And you did give a good suggestion of some access. We have to go out there and make sure there's a good station and that it's not in the salamander habitat and all that.
And we go through a series of reviews. We've already looked at one site up there and deemed it unsafe. So we're going to look at the other publicly accessible site. Private property is far from ideal because people don't retain that property. And just because we get access from one owner doesn't mean we will get it from the next if you're wanting a long-term site. So really, the most ideal is for us to be able to find a publicly accessible site. So we will continue to look to see if we can find sites that meet the safety criteria, comply with the SWCM guidance. We're really not supposed to monitor anything that is not at a minimum of intermittent with perennial pools through that program, ephemeral stream. So if we get too far up, I'm afraid we're going to hit that ephemeral stream category. So we're going to have to look and find. Now, if we can't find a publicly accessible site, we may come back and see. I did notice on an aerial, it looks like there might be a little HOA access area that, maybe we need your help getting us in to look at that and work with that HOA if you know those folks. So we will look at it and work on it and continue, but it is a process and our monitoring plan for this year set. So we'll talk it at coordinated monitoring and try to see if we can't find accessible sites.
What's the farm to market that
We
crosses
will-
the creek?
We will try to help you find someone since we know everybody.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just let us know and
We've got
we'll
another
contact them.
bridge to investigate, but if that one's also deemed not safe to work from, we may come back and say, hey, we see this on an aerial photo. It looks promising. Who owns it? Can you get us access to look at it?
But yeah,
Would
this is
the
definitely the
FM
process.
Road Bridge constitute public access? Which FM? road?
Experience. And the bridge was not safe to work, wasn't wide enough with a staff to do it safe.
And those trucks there's like a bunch of box trucks. Over a hill.
What is the HOA? Is that Hidden Springs? That's too far down.
But yes, this is absolutely the process. Y'all, told us about your concern, and now we're like, okay, thinking about it. We can look and see where a good spot will be. And
Yeah,
if
I
we
mean,
find one, can add it to our next year's monitoring. Like I said,
Thank
that
you.
begins September.
Thank you very much.
so is it possible, would it be possible to get a testing site up and running by next year's meeting? Or would it be a longer
Oh,
process?
if we were able to find a spot and add it to next year's monitoring, we would start monitoring in September,
Okay,
this September, because that's when our fiscal year starts. So.
thank you. Yeah, yeah.
It looked good on. In situ.
Like I said, I mean, Representative Buckley lives right there, pretty much where we're talking about. And so he already knows all the neighbors, so he can help too. Thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all. Not that I know of, but if you do have one, that would be nice. Even that I kind of try to pop this layer up, and it's the current wastewater treatment plants, but TCQ produces it, and I think they only update it a couple of times a year. So, and as fast as they're going in, I don't know how up to date this is. I just downloaded it the other day though.
I mean, you can call it, I mean, if you want to go to our website, we have it on our page dedicated to Salado Creek right now.
Oh, what is your?
It's savetexasstreams.org/Salado Creek.
Were you just wondering, or did you want to look at that?
Yeah, this is, this is the map. It's on our web. On that
Did
webpage.
you get that from somewhere, or did you make it from getting permit requests?
I made it.
Okay.
I was an art director in a
Yes,
former
I know how
life.
that goes. It would be nice if something was produced like that. Okay, anything else in the Lampasas River watershed? Okay, good information. And we will digest all that. All right, now we will move on to the Little River watershed. Since we're getting kind of far on our day here, I'll just really highlight the changes in the 2026 integrated report. Okay, so this is the Little River watershed. There was one new total dissolved solids AU added for impairment on the North San Gabriel River. and one new chloride to the South Fork San Gabriel River, although it already had a TDS impairment going on. And in this watershed, you heard a little bit with the TWI presentation, several projects going on, the Big Elm Creek Watershed Protection Plan. There's a link to the Brushy Creek Watershed Characterization, and also that Brushy Creek Watershed Protection Plan that they're having a meeting about tonight. So there's links for that if anybody's interested in that. Any questions or comment about anything going on in that watershed, the Little River watershed? Okay. Anybody online raising hands or anything? Okay. And if anybody has a question that is online, you can just speak up. You don't have to raise your hand. All right. We will move on to the Yewa Creek watershed. It contains Lake Somerville. No changes in the integrated report from 2024 to 2026. It already had 3 bacteria impairments and 1 dissolved oxygen impairment on one of those, and a pH impairment in Lake Somerville. Also have the Middle Yewa Creek Watershed Protection Plan going on and the Davidson Creek Watershed Protection Plan here. Again, with links if you want any more information about those. Any questions or comments on the Yewa Creek watershed? Okay. Moving right along to the Central watershed. It is right there. TWRI has a lot of monitoring stations here for their projects, and BRA monitors as well as TCEQ. No changes in the integrated report for this watershed. It had already had 12 bacteria impairments and 1 dissolved oxygen impairment. And projects going on here. The Thompsons Creek Watershed Protection Plan development and the Pond Creek Watershed Characterization. I think you said will be turning into a watershed protection plan. Any questions or comments on the Central watershed? Ready. And then going over to the east to the Navasota River watershed. One change here, there was 1 bacteria delisting in the Navasota River above Lake Mejia. So it is no longer impaired. It's meeting its water quality standards. But there are still 6 other bacteria impairments, 2 toxicity and sediment, 2 little retainment ponds down there that have had those for a very long time. And then 2 dissolved oxygen impairments. Projects that were and are going on here, the Carters and Burton Creek TMDL implementation, they're in the implementation stage. If it was not for that TMDL, there would be 3 additional bacterial impairments, but since they're being taken care of with the TMDL, they are not on the list for impairment. And we also have the Navasota River Watershed Protection Plan and TMDL for that. Any questions, updates, comments in the Navasota River watershed? Any? And then that just brings us to the lower watershed of the basin. We already heard about the Allen's Creek Reservoir project going on down there. And there are some new things from the integrated report, the draft report for this. There are 3 new bacteria impairments. The East Fork Mill Creek and West Fork Mill Creek. Also Sandy Creek and then one bacterial delisting on Big Creek because it also is under a TMDL now. So it's off the list of being impaired. And two projects, that, like I said, that Big Creek TMDL and the Mill Creek Watershed Protection Plan. And I don't know if Anna Lee Epps is still online. She heads up the Mill Creek Watershed Protection Plan. I don't know if you had any kind of update or anything you wanted to let us know. Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the lower watershed? Right. And I think with that, does anybody have any other questions about anything? Okay, I think I'm finished with my watersheds. Yes. Well, there's also the upper middle Oyster Creek watershed. It's over there on the east side of the lower watershed, but no changes were there in the newer integrated draft report. Okay, if there are no questions, I think that's all I have. I said y'all could get out of here around 1. It's at least still in the 1 o'clock hour. It's not quite 2 o'clock yet. All right. Well, thank y'all for listening, y'all that were online. And thank you for everyone that showed up in person. I appreciate it.